Gold Coast 2000, which centres around the Super Ironman Challenge.
The Gold Coast Super Ironman events. The competitors today are going to start off from Westward Ho at the beginning of a 12.5 kilometre ski paddle, which will take them via Saunton to Croyde, where they then have to run a kilometre along the beach, then come back, pick up their paddle boards, paddle 3.5 kilometres round Baggy Point to land at Pritchard Beach, then run a gruelling sand run 3Ks along the beach to Woolacombe, where they're then confronted by a 1,500 metre swim, and then it's just a 500 metre run back up the beach to the finish here at Woolacombe.
Well, it sounds easy enough, but this is a gruelling challenge, especially under the conditions. It's very hot, the water's choppy, and it's going to get choppier. And as we were told, it starts off at Westward Ho, the Magnum Super Ironman Challenge. They paddle across to Saunton Sands, which is about 13 kilometres, and after that they go around to Croyde Bay and finally end up at Woolacombe. So the favourites of this event are certainly the likes of Nick Thorne, the British champion. He finished 6th in the Worlds Down Under in Australia earlier this year. Also in there, Andy Byatt and Glenn Eldridge. That's Nick Thorne in the picture now. This is not his strongest discipline. Certainly later on when we come to hand paddling is where he'll make it. These surf ski kayaks are not the easiest to plough along. So they're coming around the first turn buoy before they head off to Saunton Sands, and that turn buoy actually marks just about everyone in the field very experienced over this distance. Of course, it originated in Australia, and that's where the World Championships are held most years. I mentioned Nick Thorne. In fact, here is Nick Thorne. He was finished 6th in those Worlds last year and is the current European champion over this discipline, the Super Ironman. In fact, these events are held all over the world as well as Australia, held in New Zealand, South Africa, Germany, Spain, and of course there's a very big one in Hawaii as part of the Oceanfest over there. And this is all part of Gold Coast 2000 Ocean Festival, which is centered around the Magnum Super Ironman Challenge, but includes many other events such as the Saltrock Pro surfing session. We've got a tag team surf off, we've got the traditional longboarding over at Woolacombe, parakiting and kite surfing here at Saunton. I say here because they're coming up towards Saunton Sands now, and then we also have the big boy paddle from Saunton Sands around to Croyde. That was Glenn Eldridge going through there with Andy Byatt. This is the lead group of 3. I think in fact Andy Byatt has just got away slightly. He's actually heading in towards the beach, and you can just see in the background the kites. Those are the kites of the parakiting competition. We had something like 45 parakiters here from all over Europe, and they raced on both the Saturday and the Sunday. 6 races on the Sunday with 5 minutes in between. They go 3 times around well, it's something like a rectangular course, taking them downwind, upwind, across wind, and in just about every direction. So here we are, they're heading off on race 1 of 6. A whole bunch of them here. It looks very pedestrian at the moment, but I can tell you they do go to speed something like 30 miles, 35 miles an hour. And we did have a couple of accidents. One guy dislocated his shoulder, but he ended up all right. These are the leaders. This is Andy Sands and Mark Kingshot going through the picture. And although we see triangular type carts here, there are more traditional four-wheelers, and this beach here at Saunton is ideal for parakiting. It's open to men and women. That's our lead woman just going through the picture, K191. There's no doubt that the challenge over the 6 races was between Andy Sands and Mark Kingshot. We did have a big German entry, but the Germans plowed out a couple of times, and there was a mad Frenchman who crashed out. So there's Andy Sands going through the pictures to win, and he goes on to win the 6-race series with Mark Kingshot in 2nd position and Dom Early 3rd. Coming up, the big boy paddle. Well, we're at Saunton Sands, and we have the Biotribe Big Boy paddle. This is a paddle on the traditional longboard, and it takes them from Saunton Sands around Down End Point into Croyde Bay itself. We were hoping for a few more competitors, but we ended up with 5 of them taking on this challenge, and certainly the problem was getting out through the surf. But no doubt that Wayne Cowie here had no problems whatsoever. He totally dominated the paddle throughout. We'll see some more paddling later in the Super Ironman challenge, but many of these guys are just local surfers here having a go in the race. There's Andy Smith behind him. You can see the swells coming around Down End here, and it was a bit slow and pedestrian at the back. These boys were getting a little tired by the time they came to the end of it, but certainly Wayne Cowie wasn't. He dominated the whole 5-kilometer paddle. Talking of paddling, our Super Ironman challenge now. They're coming out through the surf from Saunton, and you can see it's riding at about 4 feet at the moment, and that's pretty uncomfortable if you don't get it square. Well, our leader is still Andy Byatt. This is Glenn Eldridge, I think, in 2nd position, going out around Down End Point, and you can see the surf is pounding in on the rocks, and some of them have taken a fairly tight line, more courageous, and others are going fairly wide, because the last thing they want to do is catch one of those waves, whip them over and plough into the rocks. That wouldn't do the cause much good at all. So this is, it's like Andy Byatt now is coming up towards the end of this opening paddle from Westward Ho to Croyde. They've gone via Saunton Sands. That's Croyde Bay behind, and I can tell you I know it well. I'm actually from Devon, a Devonian, and spent many a fine day up on Croyde Bay in my youth. It really is a beautiful place to spend your holiday, and I can tell you it has hardly changed at all over 30 years. It's an incredible place. It's protected. In fact, a lot of these beaches here, surprisingly, are privately owned. That's fairly unique to this country. If you go abroad, most of the beaches are owned by the state or by the local community. But here, a lot of them are privately owned, and they're rented out during the summer months. They don't actually make any money out of it, I don't think. They just let people use it. So also taking place at Croyde Bay was the Saltrock Pro Expression session. We had heats all the way through the day, and we ended up with 4 surfers, local surfers, surfing off for the big bucks. And it was actually not bad. It was £1,000. And it was between Mark Igor Harris, Nathan Phillips, and Matt Jenkins and Gareth Llewellyn, who won this competition last year. This is Igor Harris, Mark Harris, and he really did show some great form. Earlier in the day the surf wasn't that big, but it certainly built up to around about 4 foot or so, as you can see. Ideal to show off his skills, and of course most of them did just that. This is the 2nd year of the Gold Coast 2000 Ocean Festival, and this event last year was won by Gareth Llewellyn, and surprisingly he didn't win this year. Certainly the crowds turned out for this one because it is one of the popular events, and certainly one of the events you can get involved with. And if you want to go surfing, this is not a bad place to come and learn it. That was Llewellyn, Jenkins, Phillips, and our winner, Mark Harris. He came through and picked up the big bucks. And what about his day? How'd it go for you today?
It's been picking up all day, so the waves getting better and better, and just stoked to win it. It was a close final. I know everyone had good waves, and I don't know, it was really close.
It certainly was. We also had some traditional skateboarding, the Red Bull skating demonstration. Several of the top UK teams came out and showed their business off to the crowds that took the time off from the beach, lying in the sun, to have a look at them. Not quite the X Games, got to start somewhere. Well, during the lunch break, we were not only entertained by the Carbon 14 group, but also by the utterly bustly aerobatic display team, the Wing Walkers. And you need some guts to do this, I'll tell you. These girls, yes, they are girls, are incredible. Be interested to know the pilot. He flies for British Airways, and I'm glad when I've been in the jumbo he doesn't actually fly like this. Well, as they say goodbye on the wing walking, we're going to catch up with the tag team surf-off. It's coming up next. Biotribe Tag Team Surf-Off. You might be wondering what that is. Well, all the guys who didn't qualify for the Saltrock Pro Expression finals, the likes of Harris, Phillips, Jenkins and Llewellyn, all the others were teamed up in four-man teams. We ended up with 4 teams of 4, and the idea is that they each go out and surf for about 10 or so minutes each. They have to catch 3 waves. They're judged on their prowess, their skills on the waves, all the tricks they do. Then they have to hand over to the next member of the team, and we all start again with him. There's also a wild card. They can tell the judges this is what they call their joker, and they get double points scored for that. And we ended up with the winning team of Scott Ronican, Ben Baird, Greg Owen and James Mitchell. They were the winners of the Biotribe Tag Team Surf-Off.
And Greg Owen, would you like to come up and pick your prizes up? You are the winners.
There we are, the local team of Ronican, Baird, Owen and Mitchell did the business in the Biotribe Tag Team Surf-Off. Meanwhile, the Super Ironman Challenge is still going on. They're on the beach at Croyde. They're just running up and down it, about 500 metres up, 500 metres back. And this is Nick Thorne, the pre-race favourite, but he's got some work to do. He's down in 5th or 6th position at the moment. I mentioned the specialist surfboards they use to paddle around on. You can see they're totally different. Something like a windsurfing board in terms of shape. It's about a 6k paddle now, round from Croyde Bay, around Baggy Point into Putsborough, before they get off the board and run up the beach. This is Nick Thorne, known as Tricky, the current European Ironman champion, and this is his strength. He really is a past master at this. You can see now it's very, very good. Interesting enough, he's using his legs to kick along as well. Up front is still the battle between Andy Byatt and Glenn Eldridge. Gladys, better known as, he's a student from Brunel University. He comes from Newquay, and Andy Byatt comes from Perranporth, also from Cornwall. Big surf ski specialists, but they're not finding this too comfortable, because you can see the chop has got up, the waves got up, and makes it a little uncomfortable as they go around Baggy Point. Behind, Nick Thorne is certainly on the charge. He's going past some of the slower athletes. They were the specialists on the kayak, but there's no doubt that the best board and swim specialist is Nick Thorne. It's just about low tide here, it's turning, and you can see occasionally the tide catches them, slows them down and gets them going again. And this is very hard on the upper body. Fortunately, they've got a respite to come, because they've got to run before they carry on the 1500 metre swim to finish the event. Well, I say finish, they've still got 500 metres to run up the beach to the finish line, but you can see there's Putsborough in the distance. Byatt and Eldridge can see it, but bringing them down quite quickly is the specialist on the board and swim, Nick Thorne. He really is going for broke here. He's the local boy, and he'd certainly like to win on home soil. The power, the speed, he's cutting through the waves here as he goes in towards Putsborough. Could do some goggles, couldn't he? This is our third place athlete. And he's been caught very quickly by Nick Thorne. But up front it's still Eldridge and Byatt. They've just got a few hundred metres now to the beach before the start of the 3-kilometre beach run. And what a cheek, look at this, Eldridge going by here. Byatt's done all the work all the way through. and the Glory Boy Eldridge Gladys, yeah, he's known as Gladys, is overtaking Milky. That's the nickname of Andrew Byatt. So that's the just about a 6k paddle out of the way. You just see down the back there, that's Nick Thorne coming through in 3rd position, so he's gone past into 3rd position just on that closing stages, and he really is going for broke. Bear in mind he is the best swimmer in the field, and we've still got that to come after the next discipline, the 3-kilometer run down the beach. And Eldridge and Byatt now are getting going as Nick Thorne dumps his surf paddle. Didn't worry, did they? Just a few quid's worth there, and they just throw it away there. Well, actually the lifeguards are on hand here to drag him out, as you can see. This is a very safe event. It's organised by the Life Surfing Society here, making sure that everything is in order. As Thorne now picks up his drink and off he goes on the run down Woolacombe. What else took place at Woolacombe? Well, the Red Barn Longboard Classic. In my days of surfing here many years ago, this is the thing we used to stand on, and Sam Bleakley here showing us how to do it. Also in there was Lee Ryan, Simon Jeffrey and Dan Harris. But the judges favoured local boy Sam Bleakley. Coming up after the break, we've got the Nippers from Bideford Bay, Croyde, Saunton and Woolacombe. One of the more popular events on Gold Coast 2000 Ocean Festival was the Nippers Challenge. 6 teams of well, up to 8 or 9 kids played all kinds of beach games. This is like musical chairs but with a stick. We had some rugby, we had some volleyball, we had some tuition as well into life saving by the local experts. We had a beach run as well, which was pretty grueling, I can tell you. And talking of grueling, we're back with a Super Ironman, and this is our leader. This is Andy Byatt and Glenn Eldridge now, way down the beach. This is a 3-kilometer run. It's at low tide, but it's pretty soft. And running them down quickly is Nick Thorne. He was something like half a minute to a minute behind coming out of the water, but he certainly caught up with Glenn Eldridge. Andy Byatt's gone down the beach and is leading, but Nick Thorne, the local favourite, he's from Woolacombe, is now in 2nd position. So Nick Thorne, the pre-race favourite, is certainly doing what many thought he would do. And bear in mind his strength, his best is to come, the swim. And it's a really rough 1500-meter swim. You can see the waves crashing down in the distance. Well, in a minute they're going to put their wetsuits on. Great crowds have come out. They've got about 30,000 people on this beach on a good day, and what a day it was. It really was. Perfect conditions for the Gold Coast 2000 Ocean Festival. So Andy Byatt has still got a bit of a lead. He's got something like 100 meters still on Nick Thorne, who's pulled away from Glenn Eldridge as they come up to the final transition here. They've still got a run to come, but they'll keep the wetsuits on. The water temperature, well, that's a cool 13-14 degrees, and it's okay for the kids, but the elders, the sportsmen, do need some protection from the wetsuits. It also gives a bit of buoyancy and makes the 1500-meter swim a little more safe. It's in an M shape, about 300 to 400 meters out, and they zigzag back to the final buoy, then back to the beach another 300 or 400 meters. This is the chasers of Eldridge and Nick Thorne. And certainly Eldridge has got the better of Thorne at the moment, and Thorne is taking his time. He's getting some composure now for this final 1500-meter ocean swim. And it's going to be pretty rough out there, but Thorne, he's the local boy, he knows this very well. This is our leader though, Andy Byatt. This is the first turn point. He's about 400 meters, 500 meters into the swim. And he heads back. You just saw the other turn before he heads out again. And behind is Nick Thorne. He's blown Glenn Eldridge away. Glenn Eldridge was history in the first 100 meters or so, because this is the strength. Look at the power of Nick Thorne as he goes through the water. He's more like a water polo player, isn't he? He really is very, very powerful upper body, as one would expect with a paddle like he's had. All his power is upper body. Not a bad runner. If he could improve his kayaking slightly, we could see the world champion here of 2 or 3 years' time, and he'd surely love to do that. So Thorne, European Ironman champion, 6th in the world. We did ask him what the main motivation or factor for this event was, and he said the pure enjoyment. Well, someone who's not enjoying it is Andy Byatt up front. He's not liking this surf, he's not liking the swell. Makes you a little seasick just watching it. And look at this. Nick Thorne is a man on a mission. He's up on his shoulder now, and you can see the difference in style. Andy Byatt's not got a bad stroke, but it doesn't compare to the strength of Nick Thorne. He really is ploughing through this water. Now Byatt has to hang on. If I were him, I'd tuck in on the ankles of Thorne and get a bit of a tow. But under these conditions, it's not easy, and in fact, you won't get that much of a tow. You really need smoother water for that. This is Thorne going for broke. This is the final turn before he heads up to the beach, and then it's about a 500-meter dash up to the finish line, the Magnum finish line, right under the wall up at Woolacombe there. Well, our leader Nick Thorne is out of the water now, and certainly Andy Byatt has done a good job there. He hasn't lost that much difference. Glenn Eldridge is back in third position now as they prepare to run up the beach, which isn't too comfortable with the wetsuits. This is Glenn Eldridge, and he's not enjoying this at all. But certainly Nick Thorne is enjoying it now. He's got the smile on his face. He can see the finish. He's just got meters to it before he is the 2000 Oceanfest champion. That was Byatt back in second place, but there's no doubting the winner. Just under 3 hours, 2 hours 50 minutes for our champion Nick Thorne from Woolacombe. Homeboy does good here at Gold Coast 2000 Oceanfest, and in second place just behind him Andy Byatt. Great stuff.
Very good race back.
And in third position it is Glenn Eldridge. Nick, that looked a pretty tough race to me out there.
Well, yeah, it was pretty tough because obviously we had to get this big ski paddle from Westwood Hoe all the way to Saunton, and then from Saunton to Croyde. And obviously there's a lot of good paddlers there, and I managed to stay with most of them, which I was really stoked with. We managed to make it to Croyde, and overall it was just a long, tough race. But I mean, it's not till now really I'm feeling it, but you know, during the race I was okay, felt good, and I was happy with the result.
Well, so he should be. He certainly won it on the paddle section from Croyde across to Tuxbury. Well, that's it for this year at the Gold Coast 2000 Ocean Festival. If you've enjoyed it, why not turn up next year and have a go at one of the great events that take place during the festival.